Welcome, everyone. My name is Tony Carkman, President of Civil CAD Learning Solutions and President of the DFW BIM Infrastructure User Group, and welcome to another episode of Expert Elite World. Today, we have several experts, AutoCAD Expert Elite members, and also industry experts join us to help answer questions about AutoCAD Civil 3D, some of the issues, problem solving, or maybe some general questions and stuff for those online attending. But go ahead and use the Q&A for posting questions and stuff. And we'll do our best to help resolve some of the questions you may have, concerns about Civil 3D. I don't know how far back we can go. I can go back as 2016, but I don't have my old laptop in front of me. So hopefully everybody's using the most current version. So we have several experts online. So we have two Johns, we have Todd, we have Ian, we got Chris and Chris in here. So if y'all want to kind of take turns to introduce yourself real quick. Chris, if you want to go first, and then Ian and John, and then John Roch, and then Todd, if y'all want to kind of do a quick intro.
Yeah, I'm Christopher Puget, a Civil 3D expert and programmer and former Autodesk Expert Elite.
And where are you located at, if everybody wants to know?
Central coast of California.
All right, cool. Ian?
Yeah, Ian Philpott. I'm a long-time Civil 3D user since 2010. And I'm currently the BIM development lead for Atkins Realis based in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So I look after all our kind of linear infrastructure tools for our transportation division.
Okay, cool. John? Either John?
Thanks, John. I am a professional engineer, certified floodplain manager in New Jersey. I am working as a engineering technology manager for a renewable energy company with multiple offices. And I've been using Civil 3D since the beginning, and just about every version of Land Desktop and a couple versions of Sofdesk.
Sofdesk. Oh, wow.
I can't get all the way back to Sofdesk, but I'm John Roush. I'm up here in New Jersey, and I've been, again, similar, working with the Land Desktop and then Civil 3D with a focus on land development and land surveying.
Cool.
Todd Rogers, BIM manager for Walter P. Moore. I go back to DCA, so that's pre-Sofdesk. Also the treasurer for Augie and the editor-in-chief for Augie World Magazine, and I am a Autodesk Expert Elite.
Delete. That's funny. So for those online, if you want to start posting some questions, I'm gonna just ask the experts here. We'll have some general questions and talk about some of the things they're seeing within their company or in the industry right now, or even in the forums about Civil 3D. I'll get started. But yeah, everyone, if you want to use your Q&A, post questions on there. That's what we're here for, to help you out as much as possible. So I'll get started. I'm private consultant, so I do training and technical support, template creation, design support, 3D modeling. I mean, just a whole list of services and stuff like that. So some of the things that come in that I've seen is grading optimization tool. And so people want to get my opinion. Should they try to learn the product? Some do's and don'ts. I played with it when it was on the beta and stuff. It was really glitchy. All I can say is it's not, in my opinion, it's not very good user friendly. It's not very user friendly. It's a whole different product. And you got to grab all your data, your break points and curb lines and bring it into this product. But sometimes I felt like I was making more edits than I should be after the final results than what I would have done just creating feature lines and then setting a pad and just seeing what my cut fill is and then moving on from there. And that's just my personal opinion. It's good. It's not terrible. It still has a way to go, but it is a new product, right? It's been around for what, 3 years, 3 versions, I guess, to the public. I guess it's been around for 3 years. 2022, I think it was the first version, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So far I've only had one client that has actually been trying to use it on a commercial project, and doing some simple detention pond analysis, or doing some parking lot design and stuff like that. So I actually had that same client actually try to test it on a subdivision. I was kind of curious how it was doing on a subdivision design, the grading optimization tool, because there are other products out there that do a decent job for grading. What is it? The Bentley Site Ups, or was it Site Designer now? Is that what it's called? Site Designer. And it does a pretty decent job. It gets you at what, 75% there, and then you do all the fine tuning and stuff like that. So I used to use it a lot for commercial, just simple grading and stuff, or even subdivisions, but I'm more on the site plan, using it for site planning and stuff like that. But what other, I don't know, those online, have you seen any other like commercial grading tools that have been out there? I don't think there's anything else out there. I know on my side of the company, we might focus on doing something on the commercial, but we have our lot grading for residential. But what have y'all been hearing about the grading optimization tool? If y'all want to jump in and throw your 2 cents.
I think I'm kind of with you, Tony, on it.
Mhm.
I've kind of played with it. It's just, I find it really kind of hard to get on with,
Mhm.
in terms of you've got to tell it what each kind of specific area of the site is actually
Mhm.
what you want it to be.
Mhm.
Is it a road? Is it pavement? How do you want
Mhm.
it to
Yeah.
control that? And trying to define what it is really hard work. I actually still, like you, I go back to the creating temporary surfaces and flexing
Mhm.
stuff from that.
Mhm.
Um, the bit I'd be interested, I've not really tried it, but is the feature line tools that CTC have got
Mhm.
that allow you to kind of maintain relationships between different feature lines.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that would, something
Yeah.
along that line would give me much more kind of control over what
Yeah.
I want to do. Because generally, like, the guys that are doing this are just know what they're looking to
Yeah.
know what they're looking to try and achieve.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of manipulating the software to get to where you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Anybody else have I actually tried it online? Have y'all tried it, Todd or John? Either John, have y'all tried the grading optimization tool?
Yeah, I hate it.
Here we go.
I'm gonna like buck the
There
whole.
we go. Here we go.
I do use it.
Okay.
I've used it on a number of projects. Uh, I had one project. It was a energy storage site um, with a stepped equipment area, stepped up with four
Hmm.
focal poles between battery aisles.
Hmm.
We spent probably about 2 or more days grading this whole site out with access road, 2 detention basins,
Hmm.
access all the way around, all the equipment, all the retaining walls.
Hmm.
I, after the job was done, I took it into Civil 3D in the grading op. All the 2D polylines I needed drawn for the grading op were basically done
Hmm.
long before we started grading to work out
Hmm.
the equipment stuff.
Okay.
So easy to get them and convert them. And it took me probably only about 4 hours to run
Hmm.
the model.
Hmm.
And it came up with an 85% model.
Okay.
It also was able to reduce the retaining walls. I computed
Hmm.
this by 44% in face area.
Yeah. Okay.
And took the cut from 1,200 cubic yards
Hmm.
to 4 yards of fill.
Hmm. There you go.
You
Yeah.
did you back check that any?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
back checked it all in Civil 3D, building feature lines and doing profiles
Hmm.
of retaining walls.
Okay. Okay.
I've also used it on very, very small inner city sites
Hmm.
to help balance stuff. And another one, we were spending a day trying to balance just a simple gravel pad at 2%
Hmm.
and trying to, stay within all the grading
Hmm.
criteria for the access road coming in. And the grading op again helped us find a 70%, like site ops.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a final,
Yeah.
unless it's just a detention pond or maybe
Yeah.
a pool in someone's backyard. You're not going to
Yeah.
get a final grading model.
Yeah.
And you may just use it to trace over a corridor center line, like you would do with a
Yeah.
site op project, right?
Yeah.
You would get a profile back from site ops. or site design.
Yeah.
Site design, I don't know. I haven't used it since,
Yeah.
but I don't think it can. But
Yeah.
I find it to be really practical, and because it works with polylines that are almost always drawn
Hmm.
before we start grading, I find it quick and easy to use,
Hmm.
especially
Now,
to iterate through different
yeah.
designs.
So the results you got, did it, when I do grading, I like to have nice even slope. Did it make some arbitrary like 1.17 slopes in different locations? Just random uneven, I usually don't go to
Yeah, but
10th. I
I'm
never
not
go to the
looking.
100th.
Yeah, but
So
I'm looking at that surface or
yeah,
those feature lines for the
yeah,
final model.
yeah.
I'm just going to use that surface to
Hmm.
project critical elevations
Hmm.
to new feature lines
Okay.
and build a new surface from that. And again, that optimized surface,
Hmm.
I just use as a tracing basically, right?
Oh,
Whether
okay.
it's a profile or feature line elevations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So you
Um,
wouldn't bring it right into Civil 3D and say, hey, okay, I'm going to use what it gave me and now just do some fine tuning in different areas.
I would do that for interdepartment planning
Hmm.
before we came up with a final design.
Yeah.
Got to work with a system designer to get all
Yeah.
the batteries they want and a civil grader.
Yeah.
So they'll go through with the grading
Yeah.
optimizer a couple of iterations before they come up.
Yeah.
We got to reduce the gravel pad, like 5 feet, or maybe
Yeah.
we can get more on here.
Yeah.
And it allows us to run through those scenarios
Yeah.
quickly without doing it all with feature lines or corridors
Yeah.
4 or 5 times.
Yeah. 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 What I typically do is if I'm looking at a big parking lot, I'll set the pad elevation and then I'll set the outer curb lines to get just a decent drainage. And I'll look and see how far I am right now. Am I at 2,000 cubic yards of cut or fill? And I'll start there. And then I don't worry about the little islands because that's not going to come into play that much, little islands in a big Walmart parking lot. I'm looking at the low points. Okay, where can I just raise and lower the low points?
Mm-hmm.
And then once I'm there, then I start doing the fine tuning. But setting the outer feature line with some grading groups with the top of curb and then the pad, it typically gets me there already at 70%. Long as I set my low points and just figure out where my low points are and just raise and lower those low points. And that's what I typically do. And it doesn't take me more than 2 iterations, just playing around and then I fine tune it. I use the relative surface for my grading groups for the curbs, and then I turn all the curb islands into grading groups and then make it relative to a temporary surface that was doing my drainage. So that just raises and lowers anytime I'm making modifications at all times. It's just fluctuating. And I wonder if that's what grading optimization tool is doing in some part of the design. Um, I can't remember because it's been probably a year now since I played with it, but does it take an account for cut fill for a building? Because most buildings have cut fill. You got to bring in maybe I'm sorry, select fill. So most buildings you bring in a big commercial building, you have select fill. You got to take dirt out and bring in maybe 1, 2, 3. I've seen 4 feet of select fill having bring into the building. So you're taking out a large amount of dirt. So when it's balancing, I wonder, is it taking account for that much of earthwork taken out for that building, because if you're doing a big like apartment complex and every building got 10 buildings and you're taking out 2 foot of dirt for select fill, that's a lot of dirt. And I wonder if it takes account for something like that. I typically do when I'm doing my grading. I'm trying to auto balance with select fill being coming in into play. Um, um, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there a feature there now? I couldn't remember if there was one for a building where you could take out 2 foot for the building out of pad.
I think you
Yeah.
probably do. It's just, you've just got to define
Mm-hmm.
what that thing is. And I
Mm-hmm.
think just listening to what John was saying, there's a very difference between a kind of a parking lot kind of
Yeah.
grade and what
Yeah.
John's doing, which sounds to me like has very defined areas.
Mm-hmm.
And say, right, that's a battery bank. This area is going to be a slope. And I think the key
Yeah.
to what I've seen with grading optimization is actually trying to tell it, okay, this area is a particular thing. It needs to be
Mm-hmm.
this cross faller, it needs to be flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
this area here is a slope, you can let that vary.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually how you work out and tell it what those areas are and
Yeah.
then how you flex them. And in different scenarios,
Yeah.
to me, it sounds like what John's talking about is maybe an easier thing to define what those areas look
Mhm.
like.
Yeah.
Whereas you give it a big car park as well, it's got lots of things, but how do you kind of make it say, right, okay,
Yeah.
I want to put some drainage lines in here and all that kind of stuff? It just sounds like it gets a bit complicated to me. And
Yeah.
that's where I've tripped over trying to get it, is too many little areas and trying to get it to do things
Hmm.
in those areas and get it to behave itself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think where you're located too plays a big part of it. You look at Mayo's in New Jersey, there's a lot of relief there. I'm in Houston. I got 0.2, 0.3.
Oh,
You know,
Yeah.
we do have
kind of
offices in
useless.
the country, including Texas. Um, uh, and we do with that. I've also used it in parking
Yeah.
lots. Again, much faster, and it does allow for depth of material, which will be computed out of the volume, but it won't give you a datum surface. Or if you wanted to, you could just put your floor down at your cut, select fill, elevation, and model it from there and have that, there are plenty of ways around.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'll probably have to go back in there and keep playing around with it. I just feel like it's not a very user application
Sounds like we
friendly.
need John to teach us how to use it.
Yeah, because I feel like there was a lot of setup when I'm bringing stuff in. I'm like, why am I spending so much time telling what each object is, so how much is that setup time, for each object you're bringing in? So, and assign it.
You can assign them globally.
Yeah.
Like I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 retaining walls in that one project I told you where we stepped the
Yeah.
site. I defined them all in one shot.
Yeah. No, what I mean is like when you're bringing in a project, you're doing a specific thing. But if I bring in like a school project, I needed to find curbing,
Yeah.
sidewalks,
You
hide
can
grade
select
breaks
them
and
all.
stuff
You
like
can
that.
do it all together.
Yeah.
You can all your curves and
Mm,
curb bounds you can define in one shot.
yeah.
Select similar and click the button, and they're all curves.
Hmm. But no, you gotta split them up, let them know which ones are actually grade breaks and stuff versus a curve, right? You can't just bring them all in as some kind of one object. Uh,
You'll have, when I did it, I had
mm,
it was a auto dealer,
hmm.
and big building in the center and massive parking lot
Hmm.
around it with curb islands to meet the landscape requirement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a closed poly line for the
Hmm.
outer curb, and then I had poly lines for all the curb islands, and
Hmm.
I defined them all in
Hmm.
one
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, how many are you the only one using it, or you got several people in the company using it right now?
We have a handful of people in the
Yeah.
company using it.
Yeah.
I know a couple of our vendors are using it a lot for maybe more detention basin grading,
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that. Yep.
and that's another great task that it can do. Especially you can basically just make a big old limited disturbance and balance that
Yeah.
whole thing right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I see a lot of practical use for it to find the final
Hmm.
design, uh, especially moving interdepartment between different um, processes in the project that have to get done.
Yeah. We just had a question popped in. Do we see any Autodesk AI tools coming into Civil 3 or Revit for site design? Um, yeah, I think they are, like Todd just answered. Yeah. I think there's starting to be some AI tools, simple ones. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but I don't know if it's doing a lot. But yeah, I think I've seen a few things on LinkedIn being posted about AI within Autodesk,
Yeah,
which
we
is pretty
had
good.
Edmundo come into the office and
Yeah.
show us the paid version of Chat GPT, and it's
Mm,
pretty cool. I mean, you
yeah.
can run the ASHTO standards against your drawings, and it'll check and come back, and it's pretty neat. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to be kind of specific with and in the way you
Yeah.
ask
Word
the
it.
question to get a decent answer. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, But has anybody else seen any kind of AI coming in for Civil 3D? Let's see here. But no,
I'm
that's a good
keeping an eye
question.
on. I'm keeping an eye on Forma. I think that's where we're going to see some advancements.
Hmm.
Is where Autodesk's mind is as far as where they're incorporating AI.
Yeah,
Paired up with Testfit to try to get some of those features in there.
yeah,
Imagine that's where they're going to push it.
yeah, yeah. Testfit, yeah, that's a good product. Expensive, but it's a good product because they got some of those applications now in, is it Forma? So for their parking tools and stuff like that, some, very simple parking layout tools. It's basically similar to the parking layout tools with um, Site Designer, site ops. It's very similar. So, but I've been seeing that on Format. So, but yeah, I like to see, and I guess I guess that's AI. I mean, what is it? Generative design. What's the other term they like to use? Um, Forgot the other term, but yeah, TestFit's just down the road from me. They're in Dallas, but uh, but yeah, they got some really great stuff. Their stuff is pretty amazing. So I played around with it a little bit, especially with when I'm doing an apartment complex and the developers ask me, well, I need a ratio of 1 bedroom versus 2 bedrooms versus 3 bedrooms, and then per floor. And so you're trying to break that up by with CAD and stuff. You can't. But TestFit, you can input all that value, and it would actually spit out a report and show a floor plan that would meet that criteria that you put in. Like, oh, that's pretty amazing. That just saves me a lot of time, you know, not having to use a bunch of blocks and trying to fit all these different ratios of apartment complexes. Now, the parking tool, it's also great too, but it's got limitation. There's no such thing as a perfect product. There's a limitation that I saw with the product, but it does help, lay out some parking, just like side ups and testful. But has anybody used the format yet? Yep. Have you done it? Now,
Yep.
I have it. I just haven't opened it up. Have you tried? Is there a way to bring in that data? Hopefully there's a way to bring some of that data right into Civil 3D.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Bringing it back into Civil 3D,
Yeah.
it's not quite there.
I mean, it's
If they
fairly
could
new.
get it, they're focusing on the ArcGIS connector,
Hmm.
bringing in different features
Mhm.
than what it did before. Thank God,
Yeah.
because that you can actually use it now.
Yeah.
But I think it could go toward that direction.
Hmm.
The problem with Forma is you got to go in and find all these add-ins that work for you, and then install these add-ins. Is this the right
Yeah.
add-in? Nope, seems like that's not the right one.
Yeah.
Let's put this add-in. See if this add-in will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Testfit in there is really kick-ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how much they paid out for that to bring it in, or what kind of
I haven't
contract.
heard from those dudes since.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Because
mean, we
they
talked to them at your place that time
and
when
they
they were at
got
your place.
20 million evaluation and got some funding last year for 20 million or 10 million. Yeah, just recently. And then ever since then, they've been just pushing away with new technology. But yeah, they haven't responded to me in a while. They're just, I guess so. Yeah, they haven't answered any of my emails.
Sitting
I've
on
been
a
trying to
boat
coordinate.
somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I sit on a boat because they haven't responded to none of my emails. I've been trying to coordinate with them. And so, but any questions come in? Let's see. Rating optimization roadmap. Yep. Ian posted something on chat. So, oh, the roadmap tools. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was just
Yep.
we were talking about grading optimization, and in that on the radar bit, there's quite a number of
Yep.
pipe clearance, parking lots, ramps.
Yep.
I saw some stuff around corridor optimization and all that kind of stuff as well. So
Yep. Yep. And
so it's just really, as much as anything, it's a shout out to anybody listening that go and take a look at the public roadmap. If there's something you like,
yeah.
get your comments in there and vote on it. The more we can tell them what we want,
Yeah.
the more likely we are to get it.
That or they'll go acquire it from another company. So the software.
Hey,
But
as
if
long
it
as we
works,
get what we want,
yeah, exactly.
that's all that matters. How they spend their ill-gotten
Yeah.
gains.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. Okay, so in Civil 3D, I should pull up my Civil 3D here, or unless one of y'all have a question or a topic you want to talk um, about Civil 3D. I don't
Hey,
have
Tony,
to.
there's two open questions.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Like who's using Dynamo and how, and
Mhm.
then
Okay.
transferring surfaces and pipes into Revit.
Okay. I'm not using Dynamo. I know there's a couple people that I see on LinkedIn all the time posting about little scripts and stuff they do on Dynamo. Um, I can't speak for the rest of the guys online. I don't, because we create our own custom apps and stuff like that in-house. Um, but I've seen two or three guys that are out there using Dynamo um, to do certain simple tasks, nothing like super complicated. So, um, but
Let's smash those two questions together and just
yeah,
say who's using Dynamo and how, and then can you bring it into Revit? Like that's exactly how I'm using Dynamo, right?
yeah,
I'm
okay,
gonna open up Dynamo and Revit. I'm gonna get like so you could use Dynamo as a way in Revit
yeah,
to um, to import some Civil 3D objects. So you
hmm
can export it from Civil 3D to like XML, and then you can read it in XML off of the
yeah,
write an XML script in Dynamo
mhm,
that'll bring it in. So that's it's a good way to do it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, John. I wrote a script a few weeks ago in Dynamo. I don't use it that much. Usually when there's something wrong, I'll go in and write a script to fix something that's wrong. So the problem was our architects and other non-civil 3D users, the Revit guys, um, were finding that there's these objects way out in space. Well, in our drawing, there's no objects way out in space
yeah,
at all. So what are these objects that are way out in space? So I got it to list all the blocks and their coordinates. Come to find out, there's users creating blocks on the fly, and it picks up the state plane coordinates in that block and throws the Revit drawing out of control. Yeah. So the only way to fix that is to delete those blocks,
yeah,
recreate those blocks closer to the 0, 0 origin.
yeah. Hmm.
Problem solved.
And how long has
But it's
that
weird.
situation been going on though before
Yeah,
you?
super weird.
How long was that going on before y'all realized?
Um, I mean, we have issues all the time with
Yeah.
going to Revit and stuff, but there's weird tweaks like right blocking out the drawing and selecting yes, include the map
Mhm.
stuff
Yeah.
instead of no, and it helps with the jiggly lines in
Yeah.
Revit and all that. Um, and we just happened to have this guy say there's stuff just way out in space, and it's like, no, it's not, dude. And I've argued with this guy. There's nothing out there. I promise you. Look at the drawing.
Zoom
Zoom
extents.
extends.
Nothing.
Yeah. I would even do the erase command, erase all, and
Erase
then
odds.
remove
Yeah.
the selection, and it would say 0. And I'm like, see? And come to find out, it was those freaking blocks created on the fly that picked an origin
Hmm.
or a base point as a state plane coordinates. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then somebody else asks, is any of y'all had any luck transferring surfaces or pipe networks into Revit as a specific Revit object? Um, I don't have
Got to
anybody
make
I
them a
can point
3D
at.
solid.
Yeah, like a three
Has to
solid.
be a 3D solid, hands down.
Yeah, and
The
it's
other thing you
sad.
could do is go through the Autodesk docs. So if you publish your surface to docs
Yeah,
and reference it back in,
Hmm.
that's what I'm hearing our
Yeah,
that
clients
is a
asking for a
great
lot
way
more
to do it.
frequently.
that.
But not everybody has Pro.
Yeah, yeah.
That,
Not
that's
everybody's
the
using
that's the
docs
kicker there.
too.
Yeah.
I
Well, that's
know
the
only
thing. We're
about
not
10%
using
of company.
docs,
Yeah, well,
but we
I only
gotta
know
because our
one
clients are there.
person. Yeah, I only know one person that my clients that actually use docs. So, um, but yeah, that's a good point. How about the pipes? When you're transferring the pipes in Civil 3D, I haven't even tried it.
3D solids. You
3D
have to put
solid to
it in
Revit.
an isometric view first, though.
Yeah,
You got to put it
yep.
in an isometric view, then convert it to 3D solids, and then send it out. We're
Yeah, but
also
we're
finding.
losing a lot of
Go
data
ahead.
like too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ain't there a connector feature in Civil 3D for Revit, straight to Revit, for pipe
Just
network?
Just-
published surfaces.
I've
That's it.
just posted something in against that question. There's these data exchange connectors nowadays, but they rely on data sitting inside docs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other interesting one is if you just want to share the information, they can pick on it, but you don't want people to modify it.
hmm
Is IFC 4x3.
Yeah.
That gives you a pretty good rendition of what's in Civil that you can bring into Revit, no problem. But the great thing also means that if the Civil guys that own that pipes, you're not going to get the Revit guys actually being able to modify it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they can reference it, they can attach to it, but they can't modify it.
hmm
So if that might work for your workflow as well.
Yeah. I didn't think about that IFC feature.
And obviously the
Have
other
you
great thing as
successfully-
well, you can
So-
validate that output as well from Civil by using validate.buildingsmart.org or OpenIFC View or something, so you can actually make sure that what you're going to get when you open it the other end is actually what you're expecting to see.
I've never had a successful export to IFC. Every time I export, there's something corrupt, something missing. So
That 4x3 Todd or the old 2x version?
here recently, yeah. So it would be the new one, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
And when you're exporting the pipes, are you exporting from are you converting the solids first, or you're exporting directly from Civil 3D?
They'll go
export solids for me.
and how are you doing, Ian? You're just taking straight the pipe networks and exporting IFC?
Yeah, we'll just go straight into. We've been doing some work with. So one of my guys has been doing some work with IFC. He's presenting some stuff at AU in a couple of weeks on the work he's been doing with IFC.
Mhm. Okay.
It just gives us that ability to share some information that comes into Revit well, but stops people messing with it,
hmm
because generally they don't own that piece of data. But with one of the things is there's quite a lot of mapping you need to do first
hmm
and build that mapping file out how you want it to come out. So you've got to invest some time in that up front before you can actually start to make use of it properly.
So I guess on the IFC, every time you change it, you have to export it out and then share it. It's not a link or anything. It's a constant export, and they import
Yeah.
import.
But that's where potentially this connector comes in if you're using ATC.
yeah.
Something we haven't looked at yet, but I've seen some kind of demos of it and understand the concept of it, but we haven't had a chance to boot it down the road just yet.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's probably my issue, is not creating the mapping. So I just export IFC. Doesn't seem to work very well.
Were you doing it inside?
Yeah, the
docs?
the add-in, no, doing it from inside Civil 3D. The
Oh, just-
add-in you install.
Okay, the add-in, yeah.
Yeah.
But not inside docs to do it. Okay.
No.
Okay.
And just while we're just recapping on that other one, we were talking about the Dynamo question.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, we've got somebody using Dynamo. We tend to use that more as a proof of concept.
hmm
A quick way to do a proof of concept. Now that we're 2025.1 with all these new API calls,
hmm
can we do it? If we can do it in Dynamo, yes, it works. Great. If it's a really valuable tool, then we'll then do what you do, Tony, and turn it into a proper application in C#.
Yeah.
But it makes a great prototyping tool.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see what any other questions came in. Okay. Yeah, I guess for
Question.
those I know it's Dynamo. I would say Dynamo, it's a lot more popular on the Revit side. You know, they've been using it for how long? What, 10 years, 8 years now already? On the Revit side. They've had it for quite a while. So um and it's a lot more popular. I think they have a lot more features than on the Civil 3D side of Dynamo, you know. So
I
all
got a
right.
question.
Yeah.
It's probably a Fugit thing here. I got the dreaded. There is a problem with the script control, msscript.ocx.
You just need to, does it have to do with Excel?
No, I try to create a pipe network and it just crashes. It gives me that there's a problem correcting the Internet Explorer. You can correct it by reinstalling Internet Explorer or re-register re-registering the control. There's a problem with the script control. The fix that
Yeah,
they
there.
have online is not a fix, and the other fix they have is to reformat your freaking hard drive.
Reformat.
Yeah.
Reformat your hard
That's
drive.
that's the fix. I was like, what?
Sure, I have 2 or 3 days of free time to reinstall everything.
Yeah, and it's affected every single version of Civil 3D I have.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What was the 3 letters or the error message?
msscript.ocx.
Isn't that one of the old ones they've had now for a couple years?
It's been around for a minute. Apparently,
Yeah,
I've
I've
seen some
seen that one.
2012 and
And I had to
everybody's reinstalling Windows. It's
I had
like
to I had to download this Windows little file. I forgot what it was called. And I always saved it. And yeah, I actually remember that from 2014. You know, I had that same problem on
yeah, I
somebody's
found some
computer.
forum posts around
Yeah,
2012.
yeah. And so and it was a little file I had to run and I had to download from Windows. But I don't think I have it
I think I
anymore.
tried that as well. I tried restoring,
Hmm.
um, trying to do everything
Was
I
it,
can
did they
not
tell
to
you to go
reinstall
and
freaking Windows.
download the latest version of Microsoft .NET Frame something something?
No, it was replacing that OCX
Hmm.
file, editing the registry, running that script that replaces the registry
Hmm.
string. Nothing fixed it.
Hmm. Um, let's see, John.
I'm not saying you didn't read that, Todd. I was just posting. Just-
Not saying you didn't.
I'm just posting it so everybody's starting from the same place.
I haven't done a clean install. I could probably try it. But yeah, I did go through this bottom portion. Yep, I
Let's
did.
see. Oh yeah, there's that little installer.
Yeah, there you go. If none of
CST.10
the
something.
above help, reset Windows to factory settings. Yay.
If you ever
What?
want to, you can try the Windows System File Checker.
Mhm.
So you can run that, which might be a little quicker than trying to reinstall, reformat your hard drive. I might try that too. Let's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. Under update registries, there's that little file script I was talking about. I see it there. Step 2 to download. Yeah, that's what I figured that you typically
Yeah,
resolved my issue, but it looks like not for
didn't
you.
help me.
Um, you can always, is this a laptop or workstation?
My personal
Yeah.
laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, your personal laptop. If that was your work, and say, hey, I tripped and fell and broke the laptop. Give me a new one.
Oh yeah, I would. That thing's a piece of crap anyway. They swear that they're super awesome laptops. I'm like, dude, I use HP Omen, man. That's way better than this
Yeah.
$3,500 shit you give me at work.
Yeah. I had to, speaking of laptops, I actually, when I was in Virginia, 3 weeks ago, as soon as I showed up, my gaming computer just went to, shit.
Oh,
And so I booted up, took about 15 minutes just to open up Windows and log in. And then it took another like hour just the icons to pop up. And I don't know what was going on. I'm like, what? I'm freaking out because class is next day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I need this laptop. So because I got on my handout, I'm trying to update the handout, and so I'm like, okay, I can't do it on my tablet. That was my last resort. Pull up my tablet, log into my virtual computer, but I don't want to teach class on my tiny little tablet, and I don't have space to put up a monitor where I'm doing the podium, where I'm doing the teaching. So I had to run to Best Buy and say, hey, give me the most powerful laptop you have right now. And so, of course, the guy lit up like, oh my God, let me show you real quick.
Best
and
thing
so
you heard all day.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and so I was trying to get the best one they had was, at the time was some Alienware. So we go up to the counter. He goes, "Oh, let me show you one more," and he showed me the Legion. I have a Legion now, and when time we went back to the counter, someone had bought that Alienware online already, and he goes, "Oh, it's gone." For
Oh,
that 2 minutes, I walked away, and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" So I ended up getting this 16-inch little Legion gaming computer. It's doing a pretty good job. I'm very impressed with it. But Razer's got a really good one. Asus has a really good gaming, powerful gaming laptop and stuff. But
these HP Omens are pretty tough, man.
yeah, that's on the list too for a good laptop. So
Yeah.
Chris, any updates? Any solutions for what Todd has?
I believe I had it in the beta
Mm-hmm.
because I think I encountered that at Caltrans,
Mm-hmm.
and I forget how I fixed it, but it didn't require a reinstall.
A reinstall
Thank
or
God.
reformat. So, all right. So
Let me see if I can find it.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it. I knew you would have something.
All right. So any more
There's another
questions?
question Q&A from Michelle.
Okay.
Have any of you found any weird quirks when using Windows 11 with Civil 3D, or is everything working as it did in Windows 10?
All good with me.
All
Yeah,
good with
this
me.
one I just mentioned.
Yeah, I'm on 11 on my gaming workstation at the office and also Windows 11 on this gaming laptop. So I haven't had any issues.
Our office just upgraded some of us to
Mhm.
Windows 11, and going back to that pipe networks and Revit.
Mhm.
So some of our when you're looking at the top view, it looks fine. You see your structures and your
Mhm.
pipes. When you put it in isometric view, the structures disappear,
Yeah.
and you could go to a brand new drawing and draw that same thing with using those structures. They show up just fine. Run an audit, nothing. Do this, nothing. Do that, nothing. Swap the part, recreate the part, delete the old one, swap the part. Still wasn't coming back. They had to go in and recreate those. It was a mess. I don't know if it had anything to do with the Windows 11 upgrade, but it happened shortly
You had to
after.
recreate every single part
Well, every single in the drawing, we had to
in the drawing.
recreate the pipe network. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Recreate the pipe.
yeah, it was a pain in the ass.
Oh, I thought you had
I
to
mean,
go to
I tried
part
every
builder.
solution that was online,
Yeah.
every single one of them. None of them worked.
What, you didn't ask Autodesk AI?
What is that called again? Anna or
Anna,
something?
you didn't ask Anna? Is it
Yeah,
Anna? Let me
Anna.
see. Uh,
Ava. That's what it is.
Ava. Yeah, you didn't ask Ava? She would have fixed it in a snap, man.
I know. She sure would have.
She probably laughed and said,
Because
"You
I would
don't
have
know."
busted the laptop.
All right, good question, Michelle. Hopefully that helps uh, lower your concern on about upgrading. I guess you are looking at upgrade to 11 on Windows. So, but yeah,
So,
I installed it probably 11, probably 6 months after Windows 11 got released, and then I installed 11 on one of my laptops and stuff. So I haven't had really any issues and stuff. So, seems like everybody else is kind of on 11 now, most people. So, a good question. Yep.
I did
Someone
what
was
you told me to
asking-
do, Mayo.
What's that?
I did what you told me to do. It said it found corrupt files and successfully repaired them.
System file checker?
Mhm.
Yeah. Give it a shot. Tony, someone has a question about MSI laptops. I have one.
Mm-hmm.
I, like you, have always used cheap gaming laptops for Civil 3D.
Hmm.
Um, generally generally they have greater bus and cache capacities and
Hmm.
facilitate that data transfer.
Better video
But
cards
having
too.
an MSI here now, it cost me, I think, $800 like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's still
Yeah,
pushing Civil 3D 2025.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. MSI, I do a lot of research before I bought this laptop. I was thinking about buying a new one before mine, crapped out. But now that old laptop is working great again. My old laptop, so I carried my backup all the time. But all the reviews I've gotten, MSI, the Alienware, the Omen, the Asus, or some of the top, laptops for something that needs a lot of power, a lot of resources, a lot of video, and that's what I read. And then probably up below that is that Razer gaming laptop. So, but I'm more of the bigger laptops. So I have to have a 17-inch laptop. And so no matter where ain't you hooking up to a laptop or a monitor, but I said, yeah, but I'm teaching. I don't have a monitor in front of me and I can't teach when I've got a little 14, 15-inch little screen in front of me, so I have to put my reading glasses on then. So I typically have my big giant laptop in front of me when I'm teaching. So, but yeah, I put up this little 16-inch next to my Alienware 17-inch. It looks like a little tiny little tablet next to it. But I will say these new laptops are so much lighter. Oh my gosh, they're so much lighter than these older laptops. So, but yeah, MSI, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a good laptops. I mean, they're meant for gaming, are they not? So, and gamings usually have really good processors and good video cards. So, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I've had this one for, like I said, a handful of years. I've never had issue. The only thing is I had to crack off the cap lock button because it was, it's one of those cap locks that's lifted.
yeah.
And every time you go to reach for the A button, you wind up hitting your cap lock.
Yeah. So, so Michelle said, yeah, Ava would have sent a pointless article. That's funny, Michelle. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good question, good question. Um, let's see, who else online here got some questions? Joshua, I do recognize some of these people online. Yep, yep. Robert, yep. Okay. Yep, Tyler. Yep. So let's get so did another one come in? Nope. Okay. I guess the next topic I have, let me pull up Civil 3D here. Okay. So how many of y'all are taking advantage of the collaboration tools built into Civil 3D? So that's going to be the drawing, share views, and publish services, publish to ArcGIS, publish to Autodesk Docs, tracer, and markups. Have y'all taken advantage of any of those tools?
I'll
It's
say I use
basically,
the Polish Surface one
yeah,
for when we have clients in Revit. There's really nothing
yeah,
better when
yeah,
you're moving surfaces.
yeah.
Uh, my next venture is the published ArcGIS, but
Hmm.
haven't hit that one very hard.
Yeah. I will say I use the shared views all the time because I'm coordinating with the architect and a developer, and they like it. I just got to tell them to reverse the navigation because it's always backward when you zoom in and out on the viewer. So, but they actually love it because they don't have Autodesk products, so they watch on the viewer. So I use the share view all the time. And then sometimes I'm trying to get my developers now use the traces palette to make comments, and I can see those comments live on my drawing and stuff like that. So, but I will say I use the shared view probably almost weekly with my clients. Architect or developer or even a contractor. I will coordinate with them. So even sometimes a city official, I will send them a shared view and they'll look at the CAD file, to verify some stuff. So anybody else, have y'all using any of those collaboration tools?
We're just getting started with the ArcGIS connector.
Yeah.
We're just looking at a few things, but there's some really silly stuff that's bugged me. So
Yeah.
you've got a point in ArcGIS. It's got a attribute that tells you what the Z
Yeah.
Z value is, but you have to use Dynamo to make the Kogo point at the right Z value.
Oh,
That's just come on, you can do all sorts of things with those attributions.
Yeah.
You can connect to them, but you can't make
Yeah.
it put it at Z.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you really need to be using 2025 because
Mhm.
then you can start mapping things to the right layers. Otherwise,
Yeah.
the map is just a bit
Yeah.
poor. But
Yeah.
fundamentally, it's got to be a good thing, because the bit I hate the most is just transferring shape files back and forth between ArcGIS and Civil 3D. It's gone on too long. We
Yeah.
should have solved this problem a long while ago.
Yeah.
I work in the kind of the linear infrastructure space. Nearly everything environmental related, whether that be badger sets or bats or whatever, is all surveyed in ArcGIS. And yet we need to absorb that and decide where our piece of infrastructure is going and report back on it. This stuff is constantly changing. Why we're having to pull shape files back and forth, I don't know. They're not exactly a hard thing, are they? It's points, lines, and polygons.
Yeah.
With some data on it.
Yeah.
But my key now is actually trying to work out and getting the workflow going back the other way a bit more efficiently, because we struggle with getting the design data quickly into ArcGIS so that the environmental people can see where that kind of bit of infrastructure is. Our GIS people seem to spend an awful lot of time with DWGs trying to thin the data down to just what they want. So we're doing a lot of work with code, particularly with the code set styles, trying to just say, right, okay, this is our 2GIS code set style. We only want these feature lines, nothing else, because all they're really interested in, isn't it, is center line, channel, top of verge, back of verge, bottom of earthworks. They couldn't give a damn about most of the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they spend too long because they've taken a Civil 3D DWG, and if you haven't got that code set apply, they've got 6 lines where the channel line is for different layers of pavement, and they're trying to thin all that down, whereas they don't really need to. But nobody's really told us that until now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been wanting to use it. I just hadn't had time. And so I guess my question on that published to ArcGIS, is anybody creating those that are using, even the ones online, if you are using ArcGIS with Civil 3D, are y'all creating like an internal database, like a map database where you have all your projects? So if you have an adjacent project to a project you've done in the past, it would just go, you can like select an area and pull down all that information, pipe network surface and stuff. And I wonder if somebody's creating like a map server. Remember, Map 3D used to have a map server database. Is anybody doing something like that on GRGS, and it's only private inside the company, but now here you got a map and you're showing all your projects and stuff. So like a huge database of all your projects.
Yeah, we can do that. We've got a system we call our SCDE, so spatial CDE. So it's an big Azure hosted ArcGIS instance that's internal to us, and we have a number of flavors of that as well. So we have effectively a staging server where any transfer data gets landed first, and once it's been through its internal review, it gets published onto the wider kind of shared server that allows other people to consume it. So we have a kind of a full ISO 19650 workflow on any data going in and out of our spatial CDE. So our people can interrogate that, but the permissions on who can see what projects outside the GIS team are very controlled.
Oh, wow.
So you can only see the projects you're involved in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The GIS team can see everything. So we could do that if we wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the local cities here in Dallas, they use ArcGIS. And then so when we provide them the as-built drawings, which is a shape file, they just import that into a master GIS file. And then when we ask for as-built, they just go and select the area and downloads it as a shapefile and gives it to us. That's why I was wondering if engineering teams are doing the same thing. So they have a master like GIS database map viewer. And every time somebody completes the project, they just bring in the pipe networks and any other things that you can bring in, surfaces and building lines and stuff like that. And I was like, I wonder if companies are doing that internally, engineering companies, they have a master file on
When I
ArcGIS.
was working in municipal engineering,
Yeah.
a number of the cities that our company worked for
Mhm.
did have internal GIS databases for maybe their water system, their
Mhm.
storm systems, sanitary systems, and we were using the ArcGIS connector to
Mhm.
get a lot of that work because, like as
Yeah.
Ian said, those surveyors are all doing everything in the field using ESRI products or mobile field collectors, and they're going
Mhm.
right to GIS
Yeah.
databases usually.
Yeah.
Um, and we did find it useful. And we're working on a number of solutions
Yeah.
to map basically
Mhm.
the city's resources, especially with stormwater.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had a question come in, who's using point clouds when getting survey? Is there any bugs using point clouds? And I'm assuming bringing, a point cloud straight into Civil, or are we talking about bringing in a, was it RCA, RCS,
RCP
RCP file from Recap,
garbage.
garbage. So I guess they're asking, how does it work? Does it do a good job? Do you need a powerful laptop to bring, I guess my question is, I mean, how big of a sample you bring it in? We're talking about 2 acres, or you're talking about a golf course that's 600 acres of data you're bringing in
Or a
a lot of,
laser scan.
a huge laser scan. Yeah. Yeah. It really
Recap
depends.
sucks.
Yeah.
Hands down, it's garbage.
Yeah. What are you
It's
currently
the biggest
using
piece of
then,
crap
Todd?
out there. I mean, we use Virtual Surveyor.
Yeah.
Virtual Surveyor, one
Hmm.
good thing about it
Yeah.
is if you bring in all this point cloud data, let's say so we went out and we flew,
Hmm.
what was it? I think about 600 acres.
Yeah.
It was our first time with this new drone, so we had it set up to where it overlapped way too much. So we had almost 8,000 pictures, right?
Dang. Wow.
Recap ran for 5 days
Oh my.
and didn't do shit. And I was like, okay. So I found a buddy of mine who does drone work, turned me on to Virtual Surveyor. It
Yeah.
took it about 45 minutes to process it. Here's the cool thing. When it spits out the XML file,
Yeah.
it's not in the gigs. It's like 10 megabytes. So Civil 3D can bring that XML file in like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Any other thing, Civil 3D going to choke, man.
Yeah.
Going to choke.
I think
This
the
whole
biggest
it
bit for
accepts
me is
billions is bull.
Yeah.
biggest bit for me is education. We get so many users that think more points equals better.
That's
And
true.
it's the old school, what you're grading with, a teaspoon or a D8.
And we have a lot of people think that, all these flown LiDAR surveys that were done for all the governments are, as accurate as field work. And we got to download that data and get it. It's the best thing. And it's a pain in the neck to work with. You can't bring it into your file as GeoTIFF because you can't reduce it. You have to bring it in as LAZ and RCP. And then once you do that, you bring it in, you start reducing it down to 1,000,000 points. I mean, I had one project. I think it was a utility scale solar farm. It was probably about 1,500 acres. And I was, processing LiDAR data for 3 days on end, just trying to get a usable surface and usable smaller surfaces. We got it, but 3 days of just processing.
Gee.
Wow.
Yeah. Cut my teeth on doing that crap too, man.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think a lot of the people I dealt with don't seem to understand that even if you get the surface like that, that's usable, as soon as you start to triangulate your corridor and tag your earthworks down onto it, the denser that point is, the more triangles you're going to get and the more interfaces you get, and it makes your corridors suck as well.
Yep. Yep. In a conventional survey, if someone's going out and shooting a 20-foot grid, you know what I mean? That's pretty dense for a conventional survey. But you get some of these, lidar studies, and you got a point every 2-3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I've brought in, 36 million points, and Autodesk recommends less than 1 million, right? Especially if you don't want to work with that MMS file. But even a couple times I couldn't get LAZ. I actually painfully bought in a geotiff, turned the surface points on, extracted them, extracted the surface contours, and rebuilt the surface from that so I could simplify it.
I do that with Global Mapper, with
Yeah.
geotiffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Can you, I'm trying to think about it here. I'm looking. Can't you bring in the LiDAR data in InfraWorks, let it produce a surface, and then bring it into Civil 3D straight from InfraWorks?
What the work, I wouldn't want to say workaround. It kind of is a workaround and a workflow too. Is to get bare ground
Mm-hmm.
from InfraWorks, and it's very similar to the Civil 3D's krigging,
Mm-hmm.
whoever invented the krigging. So it basically just interpolates across the surface, and and it's not true bare ground though.
Mm-hmm.
You need classification if you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that go out and shoot this type of data don't know how or don't do classification. It's
Mm-hmm.
very
I have never
rare.
seen a perfectly classified public LiDAR data set. Never.
Not going to find it. Yeah.
Yeah. You always got that one little area, where all the utility poles are like stretching the contours up 60 feet in the air.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem we have, we go and ask our contractor partners, because a lot of the stuff we do is design and build. Go and ask the contractor for a survey instead of going and get the top of it. Go, oh, we've got a surveyor with a drone. Off we go. Yeah, that's what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an RTK module? No. Okay.
It could be worse. They could be asking you, what is that? Let's see. We got any more questions? Okay, come in. Does anyone know where to find Lisp routines that can create a polyline for the back of curve and edge of pavement, XY feet on each side of the pre-drawn face of curve polyline, each of their own representative layers? This might save a lot of time during conceptual plan creation. Try to make a Lisp routine that couldn't quite get it to work.
That's a Fugit one.
Yeah.
You can have that done by 3 o'clock.
He's probably already done while I was reading it.
There you go.
He just posted the link right there on the chat. Download.
So the sync pack has a tool that creates the curb, and it's relatively inexpensive for a tool, and it'll allow you to create curb offsets and create feature lengths on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think my link is malformed, I think. Or no, I did it.
Yeah. But as a Lisp routine, I'm sure there are websites that provide like free Lisp routines. I found a couple of them out there that people have uploaded Lisp routines, like hundreds of them, that have been collected throughout the last, 20, 10, 15 years. And there's a couple of websites.
The sync pack, Lisp doesn't work very well with Civil 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And the sync pack's relatively inexpensive. So the time you spent trying to figure it out, you could have just bought like 20 seats of the sync pack.
Yeah, stop by and see. Jeff should have a booth at AU if you go to AU.
Autodesk is pricing out the small contributors like Jeff,
Oh,
and the minimum cost of the booth is now like 20 grand
Oh my.
or 15
Oh,
grand.
Oh
lovely.
my God. Yeah, I would
So
not
Jeff
pay.
will
Wow.
be there, but he won't have a booth.
Yeah, I
Hey,
would.
they used to give us one of the biggest ones in AU till they booted us out. Now they're trying to get us back. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a whole other
Yep.
thing.
Let's see. But great question about the list routine. Familiar with them, I'm not familiar with. Okay. Use InfoWorks.
Michelle asked about InfoWorks.
Yeah. Anyone else use it along with Civil? Do you use Civil 3 outright?
I use it for like specific tasks, you know, if I'm
Mhm.
GIS data and I need to organize, migrate, or
Mhm.
something like that. I may use it for a quick topo.
Mhm.
And occasionally when we get asked for presentations, I could very well be starting off in there,
Mhm. Yeah.
and doing some work in there.
Yeah. I use it probably monthly for projects I work on. I use the existing terrain data until I get the survey. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to wait for the survey. Usually the survey takes what, 2 weeks. I need to get going on a preliminary drainage analysis and see how much where the water's flowing, how much water we got going. So I'll use that terrain until we get the survey. I also use it for 3D modeling. So I'll create 3D models for my developers. They want a very simple 3D model for city council meetings, zoning meeting, or engineering or pre-development meeting or something like that. So I'll create very simple 3D models on InfoWorks. I also use it I like that little tool for culvert analysis. So if you do your watersheds, it can analyze your culverts and size it for you. Well, that's a quick way to do a culvert analysis. I do like that tool. I use it once in a while. And sometimes I'll use the watershed tool just to, see what it comes up with versus what I came up with for very large watersheds. And you're using what the SCS method, yeah, for something that's bigger than 100 acres and stuff like that. So that's probably the three main things I use it for. Simple 3D models, the surface, and then the culvert analysis tool. So
I've
I
also,
think go ahead, John.
oh, sorry, as a municipal engineer, I've used it for viewscape studies and shadowing studies from buildings.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That is a good one. Yeah, where the sun faces and all that. Yep, we did that for uh port of entry
Mhm.
at the Mexico border. Did that so the guys in the booth would not face the sun.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the last couple of years they have focused on their shortcomings with InfoWorks and focused entirely on bridges. And it's pretty annoying. I mean, I hate that I can't have a sidewalk ramp. Why can I not have a sidewalk ramp? Oh, I can have a sidewalk ramp. Excuse me. I have to go create feature lines and do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, that to get a sidewalk ramp. And the Bartles did that chicken and waffles place with the sidewalk ramp, but it's a whole bunch of feature line. Come on, man.
Oh, you're talking about an InfoWorks? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, because you got an intersection, right? The sidewalk goes.
yeah. Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
I mean, where do you see a sidewalk do that?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah. Nowhere.
Not even in the UK, huh,
Yeah.
Ian?
Yeah. Not even
Yeah.
in the
I showed InfoWorks to our bridges guy with the bridges bit, and they just went, no.
UK.
Yeah, I don't think they're focusing on it the way they should be. It's just kind of fell by the wayside.
There's a lot of stuff that I wish they would go back and focus on. There was a lot of stuff I tested. And I was doing a lot of one-on-one with their program development team, and then they shelved it. They were almost there, and then they shelved it, and it's been sitting on the shelf this whole time. So I can't talk about it, but there was some really great stuff. I spent like a whole year every month, with that development team working on it, and then it just got shelved. Like, hey, we go back, focus on bridges and roads. I'm like,
Yep.
and it was a site tool too. But I'm like, really? I'm like,
You work
we're
with
almost at the
Ramesh
finish
on
line.
it?
Yeah,
You
we
work
were
with
Mesh
Ramesh on it?
yeah, we're Mesh and Charlie.
Yeah, I worked
And
with him on that stuff
and
too,
I'm
man.
like,
It was great.
we're almost there. We're almost there.
That's funny. He talked about that chicken and waffles example, and they had that
Yeah.
there's workflows in the chicken and waffles example that don't work anymore because they discontinued tools. And I'm just
That's
like,
right.
I was like, because they tried to do something like that. I was like, oh, I remember this one. Let me just pull that. Let me pull that YouTube video up, and I
Yeah.
pull up it. And then I was like, and then I can't find this, but I'm like, oh my god, it's
A
discontinued.
classic example of that is pavement markings on coverage areas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
Broke
custom
now.
textures for the signs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like nothing like
Yep.
that.
Yep. Nothing works anymore. Great job.
Back to your comment, Todd. I'm going to post. I had to do a workaround. You're talking about ramps and InfoWorks. So I got tired of waiting for them. So I did a workaround. I posted the YouTube video where I was able to grade down the curbs and then put in a sidewalk and a ramp in there. It's more of a visual, but check out that video that I did with InfoWorks
Yeah, so
grading a ramp.
is I bring these InfoWorks models into Twin Motion, right?
Mhm.
And you bring these InfoWorks models into Twin Motion. There's not a real easy workaround in Twin Motion to put a freaking ramp in there.
Mhm. Oh, there's really not. Yeah.
No,
Because it's based on the objects coming in, right? And it's just
Yeah,
adding
exactly.
materials and so.
So you're just splitting the
Mhm.
curb.
Yeah, I'm splitting the regions and stuff, and then adding transitions on the curve and transition it down.
Transition on the curb. There you
Mhm.
go.
Yeah, and that's what I did, and it worked.
Ah.
So I even showed it to Ramesh and them, and they didn't respond. So I was like, hey, I got an idea. Now you could take it and make it better than what I did. This is probably just a hodgepodge of what I was doing, but improve upon it. But you can see visually it looks good, decent, but at least I just wanted to make it look like a ramp.
So you're doing each one, yeah,
Yeah,
and then doing a transition.
yeah.
Hey, that's not bad.
And of course, if I added more vertices along that curve to make it look smoother, it's a little jagged, uh, it would look a little more sharp. So, but yeah,
You did this 2 years ago. I wonder
yeah,
if you're able to do it anymore.
probably so, but they probably haven't done anything much to it. So,
No,
but yeah,
they're good at breaking shit.
um, but yeah, I mean, try that. Can't speak for all the different other wraps, but yeah.
I like it.
Um, now I know Transoft, somebody brought up Transoft Solutions, they do auto turn. They have a ramp tool, but then you have to use it and it's using a bunch of dynamic feature lines, and then you just bring it into InfoWorks and
Bentley
apply the
has one
materials.
too.
Yeah.
Open
So
Roads has one.
yeah.
It's a what do they call those? They call them sails? Is that their blocks? Yeah.
The sales. Okay.
Yeah, you just insert it, boop, like that, and it
Mhm.
magically works. So I don't know what these guys' problem is.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but one thing you haven't seen, I correct me if I'm wrong, is I haven't seen a lot of improvements in the vehicle tracking side, since it sits on top of Civil 3D. Have y'all seen much improvements with the vehicle tracking? Not that there's a lot to improve upon, but
I don't think
other
they
than adding more
touched it.
vehicles, so
I don't think they touched it.
yeah. I think the only thing they're doing is, tweaking vehicles and adding vehicles. And so, but yeah.
Same with Navisworks. That's not seen any love either.
Yeah, give it to Nigel Peters.
There you
He'll
go.
run with it.
So somebody posted, I wish they would bring back the VR for InfoWorks headsets. Come a long way, and yes, ramps. But yeah, that would be cool if they could bring in. But back in the day, they had the VR. Then they had what was it, the 3DX Max VR feature, and then they went to online. And I don't know what they're using for VR now. Honestly, I've just lost track of what they even do for VR. I don't know if that's Unreal now or what for VR. Maybe you just push it some platform, the model into a platform, a free platform.
Yeah,
Remember they had what is it, the BIM 360 Live? You can post your model up there and watch it on VR. I don't know if they have that. Has anybody been doing VR lately? Yeah.
No, it kind of.
Faded away.
I went to a convention last year on VR, XR, and AR.
And MR and
There was really nothing pertaining to our industry there whatsoever,
yeah.
except for construction. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no cool software. Food was horrible.
Yeah.
I think we might have been at the same place. It was down in Texas, I think.
Yeah. You went to that one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might have been maybe it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Did they
it
go
wasn't
wrong with the
very- I
steak
was
and
not
ribs?
impressed.
It was a mess.
It's tough to find people in our industries to pay for 3D models and virtual reality.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's become more of a marketing thing for high-end big projects. I see it. That's the only time I see it is a big project that you're working on a university or a big campus, and you got this massive 3D model somebody created and it got pushed into VR for presentations to the city or city council, zoning. And then you're using that same video for a website. Now it's on a website and they can download and watch it. That's the only time I've seen it now. So
Yeah, for me, it's just it's too high risk. Really easy for the scope to get out of control and the budget just goes bye-bye. And then it's the whole, if the models aren't there to the right level of detail in the first place, you just end up having to spend hours and hours bodging it to make it look right.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think as well, it's sometimes for me, it gives people the wrong impression about the level of design that's gone into something.
Mm-hmm.
They see this fancy model and they think the job is done, but generally it's far from it.
Well, right,
It's a pretty-
because they're bringing up the VR end of things off of the conceptual design instead of off of the final design.
Yeah, and not having a surveyor out there to mark the point.
But it's a timing issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's costly, as Ian said,
Yeah.
to generate that stuff. And,
Yeah.
unless you've got Princeton University, you got a brand new, stadium going up, it's tough to find the clients who really want to or need to pay for that.
Yeah. Michelle made a good point that, Autodesk could be focusing on taking some of those InfoWorks features into with Forma or something, I'm like, yeah, they could be doing that. I don't know if there've been any features have been incorporated into Forma from InfoWorks yet. So, any other questions? So I have one last topic and then we can jump off and everybody get back to pretending to work. So, just kidding. Rails. So I've personally have never worked on any of the rail projects. So I've never really used any of the rail tools, but have y'all been using, any of y'all actually use the Revit tool, the rail tools in Civil 3D? How are they? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they're amazing? Any of y'all doing rail projects? And those online too. Have anybody online attendees using the Rails tools features?
So that's one thing we're looking at the moment with Nigel at the minute. Generally in the UK until recently, it's pretty much been a Bentley closed shop with Network Rail, our state-owned effectively rail operator. But there appears to be some discord in that environment, and we're seeing some demand for Civil 3D from non-UK rail projects as well. I think there's still some challenges around actually building turnouts and the like and getting it to perform, because it's traditionally there's a lot of kind of permanent way guys working in the Bentley stack. Now all of a sudden we've got to try and recreate that geometric control inside of Civil 3D, and it is, shall we say, not the easiest. There's lots of mathematics to do. And if you don't understand both the mathematics and the software, it's actually really hard to build
Yeah.
those bits of content. But I think what I'm seeing is a big push from Autodesk in that direction. But whether we've got a product that's stable enough to use for a whole project,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I think, again, maybe the problem we suffer with in the UK is just such our constrained space in our geography, because we're such a small country, is that level of fine control sometimes is lacking. And we don't just see that with rail, we see that with civil in general. Like designing 10 kilometers of motorway or major road is relatively easy compared to doing some very urban realm stuff where you've got lots of things moving in different directions.
Yeah.
And we struggle with getting people that really understand how to make civil do that stuff.
So if let's say, I guess for the UK, if they're not using Autodesk Rail, what other products are out there that they're using to design rails that you've seen or heard?
Well, predominantly they're still using Bentley Railtrack, but that's now gone end of life, and not necessarily seeing the functionality they want in Bentley Open Rail. And then we come into some other problems as well, because when you start talking about high-speed rail, most of the kind of coordinate systems that we have don't have the level of accuracy in the kind of built into the system to accommodate it. So we have to move we use a system called Snake Grid. And I have to go and survey the long snake grid, because when you start talking about high-speed rail, you're down to, they want accuracy levels on the grid system of plus or minus 10 mil per kilometre.
Yeah.
And you go to British National Grid, and in some areas of like HS2, that's 300 millimetres different between real world and grid. And trying to deal with that with civil, with all your utility providers that are in National Grid is a real challenge. And it's not an easy conversion process.
Yeah.
So that kind of trips a lot of people up. And then when you do try and do a grid conversion,
that's got to be some task.
Yeah. Does Transop Solution have a rail software too? Let me see. I thought they did. I could be wrong. But yeah, I was curious, and I could see. I mean, it's a new product. It's been around for 4 years, the rail, or 3 years on Civil 3D. And I remember when it was on beta, but when we talk about the supply and demand, how many rail projects are out there in the United States? I can't speak for Europe and the UK, but there's not a whole lot, of rail projects going on. Maybe smaller sections, but you got the high speed going to California, that's billions of dollars. You got one that's still trying to get legal rights to produce the high speed from Dallas to Houston. Don't know if they're still fighting over land acquisition and stuff like that, but I don't know. There's a lot of rail projects going on in the United States. So I don't see like they're going to have a lot amount of improvements on that application and demand versus highways. Every state's building highways, or roads. Every state in the United States is building some kind of road, except for if you're in Montana, middle, that has a population of 20 people. Yeah. I was just kind of curious. I've never even tried the rail tools and stuff, so wanted to see if that actually was a good little product, and for me to just take the time to learn it, so, but yeah. Question came in was, somebody already answered it. Thanks for whoever answered the question. So we had a question about predefined layers for XREF when you attach something. So, besides using the current layer when you attach something, you can set a predefined layer. Yeah.
There's a system variable for XREF layer.
Yeah.
It's like hatch layer or anything else. So I just post that.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks. All right. Well, we'll stop here. We've been at it for a while now, and I appreciate everybody that came online. We did record this. I'll make a couple edits and add a little intro video. But yeah, thanks for John and Todd and Chris and Ian for coming online and help answer your questions. I'll post this on YouTube. And we'll shoot this, probably do another one in maybe 6 months. I'm going to do a Revit one next. And we'll try to keep going on these and try to get more popular, more traction and stuff like that. So, but yeah. All right, guys, thanks for coming online. I will keep in touch and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. See ya.
Later.